Let's take our contacts working file and explore the second most important thing when you've got a set of data, and that is the ability to sort that data. Now, Excel will sort data very quickly. You simply place your cursor in the column you would like to sort by, say for example, last name. On the home ribbon, here's our A to Z sort. In the little drop down, we have two options, either A to Z or Z to A. Very quick and easy. One click here, sort A to Z, will sort all of my data into alphabetical order of last name. So we see all the Adamses are at the beginning, and as it scrolls down, we eventually leave the Adamses and we hit the Alexanders. Likewise, we can go same little icon, Z to A, and then there will be backwards sorted by the column that you're currently in. So now we have the Zs at the top. Doing this without actually highlighting any of your data works in Excel as long as you have column headings on every column. Here we see suffix doesn't actually have any data. There probably is some a bit further down, but having the column heading means that all of my data stays together. If, for example, I had a totally blank column in here, let's insert a blank column, then what happens if we then try to sort by last name? Keep your eye on these phone numbers and email addresses. We go sort A to Z, I'm in the last name column, so we'll sort the last name. It doesn't sort any of this. See how Jake is still here and hasn't moved, but we do have the Adamses at the top. That's because Excel sees this totally blank column as a gap, as a sort of end to the data set. And all it would need is a little label in there for it not to do that. So now I've mixed my data up, which can be disastrous at the least, really. Let's do an undo before we get any further in, and then remove this column. So your data must be continuous. Not necessarily something in every cell, but certainly a heading label all the way across will ensure that none of your data gets mismatched. That way you can then pick any column and be happy that when you sort by it, it doesn't just sort by that column, it keeps all the row information together. Now all my Aarons are at the beginning, but we still have the correct last name, phone number, email address, customer ID, etc. So I go back to customer ID and I can put these effectively into their initial order, which was of customer ID number. That's great, but what happens when you want to sort by two columns? So I want them in last name order, but then where the last name repeats, I want them in first name order. That doesn't happen with the quick icons here. What we need to do instead is go to the drop down and choose custom sort, in which case I will get this dialog box. Shows me the current sort, which is by customer ID, smallest to largest. I need to make sure this tick is in because my data does have headers. Now Excel spotted that on its own. Sometimes it doesn't, and you need to put the tick in manually. With the tick in, the columns to sort by are actually labeled rather than A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now I can choose to go by last name. Then as a secondary sort, I can add a level and choose first name. So it will firstly sort them by last name. Where there is repetition of the last name, I can then sort by first name. Where there is repetition of first name, I could perhaps then sort by customer ID. Notice we have sort on values or cell color, font color, cell icon. So we have other options in there. We're sticking with the data for the moment, so that's the values. And then the order is A to Z or Z to A. And here we have in customer ID, smallest to largest and largest to smallest, which effectively is A to Z and Z to A. But because Excel spots their numbers, it changes the terminology. So it becomes smallest to largest rather than A to Z. Let's see if this works. Okay. So all the Adamses are at the beginning. Where there is repetition of the surname, and there are quite a few Adams, it then goes by first name. Then we see all the Aarons, all the Adams, all the Alex, Alexandra, Alison. Where there is repetition of first name, which in our data there is, so the surname repeats and the first name repeats, then they should be in customer ID order. And in fact, that's repeating as well, so we'd have to assume that they are in customer ID order. So that's where you need a sort that is more than just picking on one of the columns. You need to go into custom sort, choose the correct order for your sorting, and then OK. Back in this dialog box, we can remove any levels. So if I don't want to sort by the customer ID, I can delete that level. I can delete this level, and I can even delete the last level. So we don't have any sort in place whatsoever, and the data doesn't change. If I want to go back how I was, well, I remember I was in ID order, then I need to do ID order. I explicitly have to tell it the order I want to sort things by. Being able to sort your data makes life a little bit easier before you then trying to look at manipulating your data.